I'm Tracy Sable. Tonight on EWTN News Nightly, front and center as President Trump seeks to limit government funding. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt holds her first official briefing. A fluid situation. Debates over the Panama Canal head to Capitol Hill. Hear what lawmakers are saying. Returning home. Thousands of displaced Palestinians are making the most of a pause in fighting. Plus, keeping an eye on AI. The Vatican weighs in on the benefits and dangers of artificial intelligence. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us on the Feast of St. Thomas Aquinas. We begin with more nonstop news coming out of the Trump administration. The president signed new executive orders focused on the military. The White House also ordered a federal funding freeze as of 5 p.m. today. And on immigration, Trump's new DHS secretary hit the streets of New York as police arrested illegal immigrants. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen.
That's right, Tracy. The headlines do just keep coming. Everything you just mentioned and more. We'll start tonight with the president's new orders for the U.S. military.
President Donald Trump, just over a week in office, focuses on the military, including this new executive order to build the Iron Dome for America, a next-generation missile defense shield for the United States against ballistic, hypersonic, advanced cruise missiles, and other next-generation aerial attacks. The president also revising the Pentagon's policy on transgender troops, likely setting up a ban on their service. In addition, Trump reinstating troops who were booted for refusing COVID-19 vaccines.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you.
Also today, President Trump's press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, steps to the podium in the White House briefing room for the first time, and she addresses the White House action pausing federal grants and loans as the Trump administration begins a review of how trillions of dollars are spent by the government. Democrats calling the move illegal, but the White House says...
So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies.
Meanwhile, new Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, now in charge of the agency that is essential to national security, and President Trump's plans to clamp down on illegal immigration. Today, Noem sharing a video and photos on X, showing her, she says, arresting some criminal aliens this morning in New York City. Thank you to the brave officers involved. Later in the day, Noem addressed her colleagues at DHS.
We will do everything that we can to protect the American people. We have jurisdiction over people who live here, people who leave here, and people who come here.
And yesterday, President Trump in Florida telling GOP lawmakers,
we've made it clear to every country that they will be taking back our people that we're sending out, the criminals, the illegal aliens coming from their countries.
Now, back to that pause on federal grants and loans. The new press secretary said today, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still get it. Also, things like Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, not impacted. Separately, Karoline Leavitt, the press secretary, was questioned by another reporter about federal funding for Catholic charities. Take a look at this interaction.
Does the president intend to permanently cut off funding to NGOs that are bringing illegal foreign nationals to the country, such as Catholic charities?
I am actually quite certain that the president signed an executive order that did just that, and I can point you to that.
Now, EWTN has asked for a response from Catholic Charities about that exchange. The organization did write earlier, we're still waiting for that response, but the organization told us earlier that it works daily to meet people's needs, regardless of a person's immigration status. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
All right, thank you, Owen, for that. Well, for more than a century, the Panama Canal has connected the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. The 51-mile waterway ushered in the modern age of shipping. More recently, President Trump and a bipartisan group of lawmakers say that the canal is under increasing threat from China, and that poses a threat to national security here. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Ellis has that story. Eric.
Good evening, Tracy. Tensions are rising in the region after President Trump called out China's threat at the Panama Canal during his inaugural address. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is heading to Central America on his first foreign trip. One stop will be at the Panama Canal to speak with officials.
I'm compelled to suspect that an argument could be made that the terms under which that canal were turned over have been violated.
We paid for the Panama Canal. We built the Panama Canal. I don't think that they have followed the treaty, and we never should have given them the Panama Canal. I think it was a mistake. Now, I mean, we did what we did, 40 years ago. But I think if they've not followed the treaty terms, I think we should reopen that.
The government of Panama has denied that China is controlling the Panama Canal. Its president, Jose Raul Molina, fired back with a statement, quote, "Every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent area belong to Panama and will continue to be. The sovereignty and independence of our country is not negotiable." Just today, a Senate Commerce Committee hearing took a deeper dive into China's influence at the canal. Testimony showed right now China controls ports on both ends of the canal, and there is danger of China exploiting and even blocking passage through the canal.
The partially completed bridge gives China the ability to block the canal without warning. And the ports give China ready observation posts to time that action. This situation, I believe, poses acute risks to U.S. national security.
I am concerned about Chinese-owned ports in Panama and their proximity to the canal. I'm also deeply concerned about the installation of Chinese equipment from Huawei and Chinese companies near the canal.
Witnesses add part of China's plan is to build infrastructure in the region to gain control of shipping.
Chinese companies have been able to pursue billions of dollars in development contracts in Panama, many of which were projects directly on or adjacent to the Panama Canal. Many were no-bid contracts, labor laws were waived, and the Panamanian people are still waiting to see how they've been benefited.
Republican Senator Eric Schmidt has introduced legislative action. He's introduced a resolution calling on the Panamanian government to cut all ties with Chinese influence from the canal. House Republicans have also introduced a bill for the United States to repurchase the Panama Canal. At the Capitol, Eric Rosales, EWTN News Nightly.
All right, and for more, we turn now to Dr. Evan Ellis, Research Professor of Latin American Studies at the U.S. Army War College Strategic Studies Institute. Dr. Ellis, great to be with you today. As we just heard, there is bipartisan concern that China is posing a national security threat by way of the Panama Canal. What say you? Should we be concerned?
There are ample reasons for concern, but oftentimes it's misunderstood the nature of the threat. The key issue is that through the presence on both sides of the canal, Hutchison Port Holdings, their ports in Cristobal and Balboa, the construction of the bridge that was alluded to, but also other commercial presence, including Chinese distribution companies in places like Colón and Panama Pacifico. Essentially, they have the access, the knowledge, and the opportunity, if they ever had interest in shutting down the canal during time of war. There's a myriad of different ways that one could do that in deniable ways, whether it was sinking a ship in a narrow place like the Calabar Cut, or whether it was exploding devices or otherwise sabotaging the canal locks themselves, or to create threats through things like mining or even putting at risk the ships waiting outside of both ends of the canal. It's a bit like trying to defend against terrorism. The issue isn't the specific thing that one company controlling one port can do, but rather the access and proximity and knowledge that it gives you options to shut down that vital waterway, which is important for U.S. logistics and force flows in time of war if we ever had to fight one in the Indo-Pacific.
Yeah, definitely concerning, all of that. Panama's president says that his country controls the entire canal. However, Chinese companies do have a notable presence. You mentioned that, including the two ports that they operate. Additionally, Panama was the first Latin American country to be a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. That said, China clearly has an interest in Panama. But what is their goal here? What's the end game?
For me, the goal of China is twofold. In time of peace, it's the goal of trying to use Panama's traditional position as a logistics hub and a finance hub, and the friendly nature of the governments that it works with to be able to project its commercial influence and advance its commercial position and capture as much of the value added in the region possible, as well as sowing people-to-people relationships among friendly governments of the region. Again, and in wartime, it's about creating options for the PLA if they ever had to fight. So they're two very different goals. And I would mention the Panama Canal Authority actually is relatively well regarded running the Panama Canal, and there are issues with the treaty compliance. There are some shady questions about the way in which Hutchison's port concessions were renewed in 2021 in very generous, questionable terms. But the real issue isn't whether the canal is being run well or not commercially. It's the issue of the nature of influence, the amount of presence, and how that could be exploited in time of war.
Yeah, before I let you go, are there other countries in Latin America besides Panama where China is exerting their influence?
Absolutely. Virtually through the entire region, China's invested about $200 billion over the past 20 years. Its level of bilateral trade exceeds that of the United States in most places, about $500 billion the past year. That gets it a lot of influence in terms of the expectation of benefit. There are also a number of strategic projects that could be used for military purposes in time of war. Its access, for example, to space facilities, not only in Argentina and Neuquén, but also in Bolivia, in Venezuela, and elsewhere. And of course, it's access to dual-use port facilities, such as the one that they just opened in Chancay, Peru, which again has a commercial purpose, but could actually be used by Costco that controls it in time of war, also to resupply ships, if not properly supervised by the Peruvian government there. So there's lots of opportunities as the commercial presence spreads by China across the region.
Well, Dr. Ellis, thank you so much for weighing in, for your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians are returning to Gaza for the first time in 15 months, and they are finding that the infrastructure has largely been destroyed. This comes one day after Israel opened northern Gaza for the first time since the beginning of the war with Hamas. As you can see, crowds are walking along a seaside road carrying as many belongings as they can manage. Many were fearful their displacement would be permanent. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, officials say that 2 people are dead after Israeli soldiers fired upon protesters. People there are not yet back in their homes. A new report says that more than a dozen House Republicans are pushing a federal ban on chemical abortions. That is the process where the drugs mifepristone and misoprostol are meant to kill and expel a developing child from the womb early in pregnancy. Republican Andy Ogles from Tennessee is leading the charge. The pro-life measure has more than a dozen co-sponsors. Representative Ogles put forward a similar plan back in 2023. Women who receive a chemical abortion may not be prosecuted criminally. Co-sponsors include Mary Miller of Illinois, Paul Gosar of Arizona, and Ben Klein of Virginia. And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including a new direction. Google Maps is set to roll out a name change on a major body of water, and learn more about the impact of artificial intelligence and what the Vatican has to say about it. Some big news for Whole Foods in Philadelphia. For the first time, employees at the chain owned by Amazon have formed a union. The measure passed by a narrow margin. The United Food and Commercial Workers say they are looking for better compensation and improved working conditions. In turn, Whole Foods claims that it offers competitive wages, benefits, and career advancement. Maps on Google will soon have some slight changes. You could almost say it's a golf swing. The free mapping service says that it will update the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. This comes after President Trump signed an executive order to rename the area. Google has a long-standing practice of changing names once official in government sources. However, this will only be seen in the U.S. America's highest peak will also be soon updated from its name Denali back to Mount McKinley. Today, concerns are growing after the emergence of a new artificial intelligence model from a Chinese company. DeepSeek's unveiling caused stocks to tumble yesterday. Now, many are worried that China may have overtaken the U.S. in the AI race. DeepSeek claims that its AI model uses computer chips more efficiently and can still compete with American versions.
I think we can say that there is a possibility of developing very competitive and very good AI systems using a more different kind of approach than the conventional way that most US system has been depending on developing, which is basically using a lot of GPU or compute power.
However, experts and even DeepSeek itself says it is limited in what it can achieve due to sanctions that keep them from using the most advanced computer chips. The Vatican has released a new document on the relationship between artificial intelligence and human intelligence, highlighting both the potential and the challenges of AI today. The document, which begins by establishing that human intelligence is a gift from God, offers guidelines meant to ensure that the development and use of AI serve humanity and uphold human dignity, but emphasizes that above all, it should lead to a renewed appreciation of all that is human. And joining us now from Rome is Father Michael Baggot, Assistant Professor of Bioethics at the Pontifical Athenaeum Regina Apostolorum, who also teaches and researches on transhumanism and emerging technologies. Father, great to be with you today. So this document comes on the heels of several statements by Pope Francis on AI. Why is the Holy Father so concerned about this issue?
The Pope recognizes that the Church is an expert in humanity, and AI is affecting all aspects of society, economy, education, medicine. So he's deeply concerned about this theme and its impact on human beings around the world.
And I know the document says that scientific and technological advances should be directed towards serving the human person and the common good. How do we make that happen where AI is concerned?
Well, it's very easy to use these AI tools to manipulate or deceive. We see the problem with deep fake, with misinformation. This is a topic that's addressed in the document and which Pope Francis has experienced on the world stage. So we don't want to use these tools to manipulate, deceive, or harm people, but we want to use the tools rather to serve their good, whether that's improving their experience of education, giving them more preventative and personalized healthcare, or just helping them to research and grow in knowledge and love for the Lord.
Yeah, and in addition, it says that AI should not be seen as an artificial form of human intelligence, but as a product of it. Father, why is this really such a crucial distinction?
Artificial intelligence comes from human creativity and is meant to be put at the service of other human beings. It is not a sentient or conscious being with rights and special dignity. So we have to be very careful about blurring the line between human persons and their artifacts or their creations, because if we start to confuse that distinction, then we come to a lot of heartache, a lot of confusion. But the Holy Father wants to make very clear, the whole Church wants to make clear the difference between human persons and their creations.
Yeah, and to jump off of that, the new document also notes that AI can really threaten human relationships and creating a harmful sense of isolation and developmental problems, in particular in children. Let's talk a little bit more, Father, about the concerns there.
Unfortunately, there are already many AI platforms that promote themselves as providing you with the ideal friend or even the ideal romantic lover. And I think that that is actually going to worsen the loneliness epidemic we have in many places around the world. These services are presented as a way of solving the problem, but I think that they're only going to distract us from and deter us from doing the hard work of cultivating deep, meaningful interpersonal relationships with real human beings.
Well, Father, thank you so much for weighing in. We really appreciate it. God bless. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, capital investment. A global Catholic aid group announces major plans for expansion here in Washington, D.C. We'll explain. The Orthodox Church in Albania has died. Archbishop Anastasios led the Albanian Orthodox Church for nearly 33 years. After the fall of communism, he helped to reopen more than 400 parishes in the majority Muslim nation. Archbishop Anastasios was 95 years old. A Catholic nonprofit that spent nearly $2 billion last year helping more than 5 million people in the United States announces a new plan to fight homelessness. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul is opening an office here in Washington, D.C. It will be used for outreach to lawmakers on issues related to poverty and homelessness. The global Catholic group already helps the homeless with financial aid for food and rent and relies on person-to-person outreach. A recent report says that on a single night in the U.S. last January, more than 770,000 people were homeless. And for more now, we turn to John Barry, president of the National Council of the United States for the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. John, great to be with you here in studio today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, we love it. So thank you so much. And before we get into the Washington office, remind folks more about the Society.
Sure. The Society of St. Vincent de Paul was founded back in 1833 in Paris, and we came here to the United States in 1845. We're a worldwide organization that provides hope, help, and spiritual support to people in need across the world.
Tell us about the importance of the office here in Washington, D.C., why you felt the need for it.
We decided that we needed to have a presence here in Washington, D.C. because our person-to-person, Christ-centered service to people in need gives us a base of information about more than just the immediate material needs people have, but really the root causes of poverty and what is it that's putting people in need for services. So as we've identified those needs through the 1.5 million people we served last year, we have an incredible degree of data that we can share with lawmakers and other nonprofits here in Washington to try to help advocate for policies and programs to change those causes, make better decisions in Washington to serve those we serve.
Yeah, and we've really seen, it seems like a surge in homelessness throughout the country and even here in the nation's capital.
Homelessness, unfortunately, has risen. It's up 17% from where it was in 2023. It's become a national tragedy and a worldwide tragedy. And yes, it's something that the Society has dedicated itself to working to try to prevent homelessness. We have dedicated a lot of our resources to it, which we always have, but we are putting an especially stronger laser focus on it.
Yeah, I know that one thing I want to talk about, too, is that you call your methods, quote, non-bureaucratic.
Correct.
And more effective than the government. Tell us why that is.
Well, we are a volunteer-driven organization. So in 2023, we provided $1.7 billion worth of services to people in need across the country. We did that with 90,000 volunteers and a staff in St. Louis of about 30. So our services are not tied behind a large corporate bureaucracy that delivers the services. Additionally, the key to what we do is it is a Christ-centered encounter, human-to-human person. It's not an agency relationship. People don't come to us, sit in front of a glass window with a slit in it, and hand over an electric bill and ask us to pay it. Because if they did that, we wouldn't catch the kind of things we do by going to them. Like, we go into a mobile home where an elderly person lives who can't pay their electric bill, and as we're there, we note that the mobile home doesn't have insulation. So in addition to paying the electric bill, we can help them insulate that mobile home so that in the future, that person can afford to pay their electric bill. So not only have we met the material need, but we've put a preventative action in place for the future.
John, thank you so much, and thank you for all you do. God bless you and your work.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, and God bless you as well.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, X, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sable. Good night, and God bless.